Are you looking forward to watching a Han Solo movie as a fan?
Not really.
So, as Han's story came to an end in Force Awakens, how did you feel about the ending? Did you feel good about the ending? Do you like the way his story ended up? Did you see that as Han's ending?
If you were to do a new Star Wars holiday special tied to The Force Awakens, what would you want to see in it? Say it into them.
I'd kill myself.
Reports are circulating that Disney attempted to rewrite Han Solo's story, potentially making the iconic character queer, but Harrison Ford, the legendary actor who brought Han Solo to life for decades, is pushing back against the idea. Ford has always been clear about his vision for the character, and it seems he's not on board with any changes that would stray from that. As news of this move spreads, fans are praising Ford's resistance to Disney's agenda, with many feeling that it's a stand for maintaining the integrity of the character. So, is Disney really trying to alter Han Solo's legacy? And did Harrison Ford just shut them down? Let's dive into the details.
Fans are enthusiastic, and it was a very warm welcome we got.
There must have been, I'm sure you were aware of the level of anticipation.
I was.
Okay. Is that something you factor in when you accept a part like this, or is that something that was maybe even off-putting before you decided to become Han Solo again?
No, Jonathan, I'm in it for the money.
Yeah. Apart from the cash, what made you decide to do Han Solo again?
I was just glad to be involved in it. I mean, obviously, Star Wars has been very, very good to me. It gave me a career that I have enjoyed, and all the opportunities have proceeded from the attachment to the success of Star Wars. So when George called and asked if I might be interested in coming back, I said, yeah, why not, basically. Sitting around waiting for somebody to give me the job.
Yeah.
Star Wars was a big success, so I was happy to come back and play Han Solo again and again, but that was enough. But I thought that he had reached his potential, therefore could serve the story by dying.
Disney is once again at the heart of a major controversy, this time due to an alleged plan to rewrite Han Solo's story, making the character queer. Fans are furious, and Harrison Ford isn't having it. For decades, Ford has played Han Solo as the confident, smooth-talking rogue who wins over Princess Leia, becoming one of the most beloved characters in the Star Wars franchise. However, Disney is now being accused of trying to rework his story to fit modern identity politics, a move that many feel undermines the character's original essence. The idea that Disney wanted to make Han Solo queer didn't appear out of nowhere. Over the years, rumors have circulated that Star Wars was aiming for more LGBTQ+ representation. However, critics argue that instead of introducing new characters, Disney has been accused of rewriting established ones to fit a more contemporary agenda. A Star Wars screenwriter once claimed that Han Solo and Luke Skywalker were secretly a couple all along, stating that he had written scenes where the two were romantically involved aboard the Millennium Falcon, despite there being no indication of this in the original films. These post-facto reinterpretations have only fueled fans' frustration. Many feel that instead of honoring the original legacy of these iconic characters, Disney is attempting to reshape them into something entirely different. Harrison Ford's response to these attempts has sparked even more debate, with fans applauding his stand against what they see as unnecessary changes to a beloved part of Star Wars history.
Donald, we mentioned Jonathan Kasdan, one of the screenwriters earlier. He recently said that Lando is pansexual, as you may have seen. Were you aware of this when you were filming?
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
I didn't know he said that.
How can you not be pansexual in space? There's something there's so many things to have sex with. Like, I'm serious. Like, I didn't think that was that weird. He's like coming on to everybody. I mean, yeah, whatever. He's like kind of like a 70s sway. Yeah, it just didn't seem that weird to me because I feel like if you're in space, it's kind of like the door's open. Like it's not, it's like no, only guys or girls. Like kind of things. Like no, it's anything. This thing is literally a blob. Like, are you a man or a woman? Like, who cares? Having a good time out here.
This isn't the first time Disney has faced accusations of pushing identity politics into Star Wars. When Solo, a Star Wars story, came out, One of the writers openly claimed that Lando Calrissian was pansexual, suggesting that he could be attracted to more than just humans. This idea was never part of Lando's original character and felt more like a publicity stunt than a genuine part of the story. Billy D. Williams, who portrayed Lando in the original trilogy, later clarified that he had always seen Lando as a smooth, charismatic ladies' man and not as the pansexual character being suggested. Despite this, Disney continued to push the idea, even though it was never explored in the films. The trend continued with the sequel trilogy. Characters Finn and Poe, two of the main protagonists introduced in The Force Awakens, were heavily marketed as close friends, but some fans speculated there was potential romantic tension between them. Instead of directly addressing this speculation, Disney seemed to encourage the rumors without ever fully committing to the idea. This led to accusations of queer-baiting, hints of LGBTQ+ representation, without actually delivering it. Fans who wanted authentic LGBTQ+ representation felt cheated, while others viewed it as yet another instance of Disney injecting identity politics into a franchise that had never been centered on it. This ongoing pattern has frustrated fans on both sides of the argument, with some believing it undermines the original spirit of Star Wars and others hoping for more genuine representation.
This droid has to get to the Resistance base as soon as possible.
He's carrying a map to Luke Skywalker. Honor the Han Solo that fought with the rebellion. He knew it. Oh no. I knew Luke.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Disney has also taken a more direct approach in its expanded Star Wars universe, particularly through the High Republic book series and comics. In these works, Disney introduced a non-binary Jedi named Trick and Serret, two Bond twins who share a consciousness. These characters were even promoted on Trans Day of Visibility, which many saw as an effort to signal Disney's commitment to identity politics rather than focusing on strong storytelling. While some fans appreciated the diversity and representation, others felt that it was another example of Disney prioritizing activism over quality writing. The most shocking claims surrounding Han Solo's sexuality, however, have come from recent statements by Hollywood insiders. These individuals insist that there was always a hidden romance between Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. A former Star Wars screenwriter even claimed that Luke and Han were secretly romantically involved behind the scenes, asserting that he had written those scenes into his scripts. These claims directly contradict everything shown in the original trilogy, where Han is clearly in love with Leia and Luke's romantic subplot centers around his unknowing attraction to his own sister. Mark Hamill, who portrayed Luke Skywalker, has weighed in on the debate in past interviews, saying that Luke's sexuality is open to interpretation and that fans can decide for themselves. While Hamill's comments seem to have been an attempt to be inclusive, they have only fueled the rumors further, leading some to believe that Lucasfilm was open to revising classic characters to fit modern narratives. However, Harrison Ford has never played along with these ideas. He has consistently been clear about who Han Solo is and has never entertained the notion that Han was anything other than what George Lucas originally created him to be. Ford's staunch refusal to entertain these modern reinterpretations has only further solidified his position as a protector of the character's legacy.
What is interesting to me is the fact that people like you and me and others that I've talked with who say, well, I don't like the sci-fi, I don't like that sort of thing.
But I like
wow,
this.
I love Star Wars.
Yeah.
Why do we like this?
Well, it's a fantasy. It's not science fiction so much as it is space fantasy. And it's about people. It's finally about people and not finally about science. So the energy of the movie goes towards exploring these human relationships, and I think that's what makes it so accessible to people.
The first time I saw Star Wars, the first film, you may remember that it started with a scroll, and then with a huge spaceship which passed
It came closer and closer, and then felt as if it flew off the screen and over the top of the audience. That absolutely knocked me out. The special effect, the visual element, the sound, that was the sound design, and the music all came together at that one moment, right at the beginning of the film, and I knew that I was going to see something I'd never seen before. I had done American Graffiti with George Lucas. George Lucas made it known that he was not interested in working with anybody that he'd worked with in American Graffiti, that he was looking for new faces. I was working on a elaborate portico entrance to Francis Ford Coppola's offices, working as a carpenter, when George walked in with Richard Dreyfuss to begin the first of the interviews for Star Wars. Somehow that rang a bell with George, and I became eventually Han Solo.
Harrison Ford has always been fiercely protective of Han Solo, the character he portrayed for over 40 years, helping to shape him into one of the most iconic figures in movie history. Ford never saw Han Solo as anything other than what he was, an independent, rugged smuggler with a sarcastic charm and a heart of gold. Unlike Disney's more recent approach to Star Wars, Ford has always valued the simplicity of the character, believing that Han should remain true to his original vision without being overcomplicated or reimagined to fit modern trends. Ford has never been afraid to speak his mind about Star Wars. In fact, he famously pushed for Han Solo's death in Return of the Jedi, thinking it would give the story emotional weight. When Disney brought him back for The Force Awakens, Ford agreed to return because the character would finally get the ending he always thought Solo deserved. This alone shows how deeply Ford cares about preserving Solo's legacy. So, when rumors began circulating that Disney might want to rewrite Han Solo's character and make him queer, fans immediately wondered what Ford thought. And history tells us that Ford doesn't tolerate unnecessary changes to his characters. Ford is well known for not bending to Hollywood trends or playing along with politically driven storytelling. In past interviews, he's been dismissive of attempts to alter Han Solo's personality or backstory to fit newer narratives. For him, Han Solo is a simple, well-defined character who doesn't need to be updated to fit today's cultural expectations. He's made it clear that he doesn't see Star Wars the way Disney does. Ford has always preferred authenticity in storytelling, rather than forcing issues or identities into a franchise that didn't originally explore them. This approach is consistent across Ford's career. Take his recent performance in Shrinking, for example, where he plays an emotionally complex therapist dealing with Parkinson's disease. Instead of turning it into a politically charged role, Ford delivered a genuine, human performance that felt real. That's what he values in storytelling, authenticity, not forced identity politics. Given Disney's track record of pushing woke narratives into its properties, it's no surprise that they might want to tweak Han Solo's character, but Ford is simply not the type to support such changes. Fans love him because he sticks to what works. He's not driven by what Hollywood executives want to push. And if there's one thing Ford has made clear over the years, it's that Han Solo doesn't need fixing.
Great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million. Is it true that you asked George Lucas to kill Han Solo off during the original, the first 3 movies?
Not personally.
You didn't personally ask?
No, I didn't ask him to personally kill me off. I asked him to ask the writers to kill me off. I figured that his utility had been exhausted, bled out.
But I thought that he had reached his potential, therefore could serve the story by dying. I thought he should have died in the last one, just to give it some bottom, some...
Did that not go over well with George Lucas?
George didn't think there was any future in dead Han toys.
I argued for 30 years for this to happen.
Right.
And finally, I wore him down.
People in the audience like to ask you some questions. Would you be all right taking some questions from the audience? Is there any rules?
No Star Wars
No
questions.
Star Wars questions?
I can't.
Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, we have a gentleman right there. No Star Wars questions.
Do you like being in movies.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, pretty straightforward there. Do we have any? We have another. Okay, we have someone right over here. Yes.
Are you hungry?
Are you hungry?
No, not really.
True story, Harrison Ford, who plays the space pirate in the film, at one point threatened to tie George up and make him say his own lines at gunpoint.
And I did say, George, you can type this shit, but you cannot say it. Move your mouth while you're typing and see if you can say it.
If Disney really did plan to rewrite Han Solo as queer, it's no surprise that Harrison Ford would slam the idea. Ford has never been one to follow Hollywood trends, and he has consistently criticized changes to Star Wars that he felt were unnecessary. Beyond Ford's personal views, fans have also made their frustrations clear. The sequel trilogy left many longtime Star Wars fans disappointed, and attempts to insert political messaging into the franchise have only pushed people away. Rather than telling compelling, timeless stories, Disney has spent years trying to force modern identity politics into a universe that was never about that. Fans have watched as their favorite characters have been rewritten, their beloved stories altered, and their excitement for the franchise diminished by unnecessary social agendas. If Disney genuinely wants to include LGBTQ+ representation in Star Wars, the solution is simple: create new characters. Fans don't have a problem with diversity, they have a problem with rewriting history. Instead of respecting the legacy of characters like Han Solo, Disney has tried to reshape them into something completely different, all in the name of modern activism. But as long as Harrison Ford is around, Han Solo isn't going to change. Ford has made it clear that he isn't interested in woke politics, and fans appreciate that unwavering stance. The backlash against Disney has been growing for years, and this latest controversy only adds fuel to the fire. People are tired of seeing their favorite franchises hijacked for political messaging. They want Star Wars to be Star Wars, not a platform for activism. If Disney continues down this path, they risk losing even more fans and potentially damaging Star Wars beyond repair. Harrison Ford has always stood by Han Solo as the character he was meant to be. If Disney thought they could get away with changing that, they were wrong. The fans don't want it, and Ford doesn't either. If Star Wars is ever going to recover, Disney needs to stop focusing on rewriting history and start telling good stories again. But as long as they continue to force identity politics into their films, the backlash will only grow stronger.
It's not difficult to find an interview with Harrison Ford where he shares his opinion of being uninterested in playing the role of Han Solo, hoping they would have killed off his character long ago.
But Han Solo killed off.
No, I argued for 30 years for this to happen.
Right.
Finally, I wore him down.
However, recently Adam Driver shared a private story about Harrison that sounds quite the opposite.
I remember we were on this big catwalk that we were shooting it, and it's just him and I, and we're talking, and he goes, you know, look what we get to do. Isn't this so great? I would think that he would be cynical or over it, and it was the exact opposite. He was very emotional and open, and how lucky he was to be shooting this movie and this character, and uncynical and pretty great.
Does Harrison Ford despise Star Wars, or does he secretly have a soft spot for it? Let me know down in the comments.
Oh, and I'd like people to stop coming up to me on the street saying, you killed Han Solo. I didn't kill Han Solo. Wokeness killed Han Solo.
Adam Driver stirred controversy with his recent joke on Saturday Night Live when he quipped, "I didn't kill Han. Wokeness killed Han Solo." While the remark was meant to be comedic, it struck a nerve with Star Wars fans, and many questioned whether Driver was mocking those who blame wokeness for ruining the franchise or subtly agreeing that Disney's changes had damaged what made Star Wars great. The line, although sarcastic, reflected a growing frustration among fans who feel that Star Wars has lost its identity due to forced political messaging. Driver, who played Kylo Ren, the character who killed Han Solo in The Force Awakens, acknowledged how divisive that moment was for fans. Han Solo's death wasn't just the end of a beloved character, it symbolized the shift Star Wars underwent under Disney's ownership. Many fans believed that the sequel trilogy prioritized social agendas over strong, cohesive storytelling, and Driver's joke seemed to reinforce that sentiment. Whether or not Driver intended to criticize Disney directly, his remark resonated because it felt true to many fans. It echoed the widely shared perception that Star Wars had been transformed in a way that didn't honor the franchise's legacy. The growing backlash against Disney's handling of the series, particularly in terms of political and social messaging, made Driver's joke seem more than just a playful comment. It struck a deeper chord with those who have watched the franchise evolve and feel that the changes have compromised its essence.
However, it's unclear whether there are 6 or 7 grips on the handle. Can you please confirm whether The Force Awakens Luke Skywalker lightsaber has 6 or 7 grips?
Well, it's a great question, and definitely something for Harrison to handle, sir.
Maybe.
Thank you.
Jordan had one other favor. Jordan, you brought something. It's important to you.
Yeah, one of the pieces of memorabilia in my collection, in fact, the flagship piece, is a Lego Millennium Falcon that I put together in 2010. They're selling for about $5,000 now, and it took about 60 man-hours to create. And I display it with pride, but it would really mean the world to me if Harrison could sign it.
Okay, Harrison?
Sure. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Wow.
Now, it's very delicate.
A long time.
Yeah. So, I have a sharp...
That's bad.
Don't worry about it.
But you have the pen?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Fine.
You're okay?
Thank you.
No, this is make it much more valuable.
Okay. Now is when we hear a muffled shot and a bike followed. Gentlemen.
Here's your pen.
Let me ask you something, and this is a question I've wanted to ask you for a while, and I've always restrained myself. Yeah. Star Wars, of course, came out in 1977, I believe. Huge international hit, one of the biggest hits of all time. Rockets you to superstardom. And then shortly afterwards, a Christmas special came out that was produced by George Lucas, in which all of the participants in Star Wars came together and they made this Star Wars Christmas special, and the tape's been passed around for years, and the rumors that Lucas is trying to suppress it because none of you look happy while you're making this thing. And I thought I'd just ask you about it. Do you remember making this Christmas special? I think it was 1978. No, you don't remember it? You have no memory of the Simpsons. No memory of it at all. No, so it doesn't exist in your...
No, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
No.
What if I were to tell you that I had a little piece of tape right now? What if I were to roll that piece of tape? How would you feel about that?
I wouldn't feel... I don't know. I've never seen it. Maybe it'll be nice. Go ahead. Roll it.
The Star Wars Holiday Special.
Chewie, check and see if the coast is clear, will you? You're like family to me.
Thank you. Yeah. That Wookiee looked at you with lust. That was...
Harrison Ford's reaction to the growing controversy surrounding Star Wars is telling. He has always been clear about who Han Solo is and has actively pushed back against unnecessary changes to the character. This stance serves as a rejection of the Hollywood trends highlighted in Adam Driver's recent joke, and it's a signal that even those within the franchise recognize how much Star Wars has been altered, and not for the better. Han Solo was never written as queer, and there's no reason to force that change now. His character has been established for over 40 years, and his romance with Princess Leia is one of the most iconic love stories in cinema. Changing his sexuality now would feel like a forced attempt to fit a modern narrative. If Disney truly wants LGBTQ+ representation, the solution is simple. Create new, strong characters instead of rewriting old ones. Changing established characters feels lazy and disrespectful to their legacy. Fans aren't opposed to diversity. They're tired of seeing classic characters altered to fit an agenda. Instead of relying on nostalgia to push political messaging, Disney should focus on telling great stories with well-developed, original characters. The backlash over these rumored changes proves that fans aren't interested in Hollywood's political games. They want Star Wars to be Star Wars, not a vehicle for activism. With the backlash growing, it's worth asking whether Disney will backtrack on these rumored changes. They've already admitted to shareholders that their political messaging has hurt their brand, and Star Wars has been struggling at the box office. The get woke, go broke trend is real, and Disney is clearly feeling the consequences. Harrison Ford's opposition to these changes could hold weight, as he's one of the most respected actors in Hollywood, and his influence could force Disney to reconsider its strategy. But the real question remains, can Star Wars ever return to its roots? Can the franchise recover from years of mismanagement, or has Disney damaged it beyond repair? Ford's stance on Disney's woke agenda matters because it represents a larger battle over the future of storytelling. Fans don't want classic characters rewritten to fit modern narratives. They want them respected for who they were meant to be. Han Solo is an icon, and Ford has made it clear that he won't stand for unnecessary changes. Hollywood needs to learn from its mistakes before more beloved franchises are ruined. Should classic characters be left alone? Will Star Wars ever recover? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.